We'll calculate and report the mean and confidence interval using a spreadsheet two different ways. For the first, we will make minimal use of the spreadsheet statistical functions and largely duplicate the by-hand calculations. For the second, we'll make liberal use of the spreadsheet's built-in statistical functions. All of the steps will work equally well on Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. I haven't checked LibreOffice. The first step is to label and enter our data. We'll call our measurements column X sub I and enter the measured values 5, 7, 4, 6, 4, 6, 5, 7, 5, 6. The next step is to sum the X sub I's. We'll label the cell Sum and use the spreadsheet's built-in sum function. Notice that I can select and enter the entire column. The mean is the sum divided by the count, so we need to count the measurements. We'll label the cell Count and use the spreadsheet's built-in count function. The mean is the sum divided by the count, so we'll label the next cell as Mean and divide the sum by the count. For the variance, we need the residuals, which is the mean minus the measurement. We have the mean that we want to reference in each calculation, but we want the calculation to refer to the same cell even if we change the position of the calculation, so we need an absolute reference. You can hand enter the dollar signs for absolute reference, but it's quicker to use the keyboard shortcut, F4 or Command T on the Mac. The key toggles the dollar signs, first both the row and the column, second just the row, third just the column, and fourth none. We now subtract the first measurement. Once we've entered the first cell, we can fill the whole column by simply dragging down from the corner. We actually need the square of the variance, so we'll make another column labeled E sub I squared and square each of the E sub I's. We could have entered the full formula in the first column and cut down on the number of cells, but this method most closely duplicates the hand method. We next need the sum of the squared residuals, and since I'm lazy, I'll just copy the name and formula from where we entered it before and paste it here. Since the original formula used relative reference, no dollar signs, it will work just fine. The variance is the sum of the squares divided by the count minus 1, so we'll enter that here. The standard deviation is the square root of the variance as entered here. The estimated standard error is the standard deviation divided by the square root of the count. Next, we'll enter the confidence level, either 0.95 or 95%. Now we have a choice. We can look up in the t-table as we did by hand, or we can use a built-in statistical function. I don't want to use the table, so I'll use the built-in function even though it violates the spirit of this first example. We'll enter the t.inv.2t function. It calculates the t value given the probability, 1 minus the confidence level, and the degrees of freedom, the count minus 1. Finally, we'll calculate the confidence interval lambda, actually 1/2 of the confidence interval, but you knew what I meant, by multiplying the t value by the standard error. We'll now clean up the spreadsheet a little. First, we'll bold the answer. Next, we'll make the number of significant figures more reasonable. We'll place the second method close to the first method. Since I'm lazy, I'll just copy and paste the data. As before, we need the count, so I'll use the count function again. For the mean this time, I'll use the average function, and for the standard deviation, I'll use the stdev function. There isn't a function for the standard error, so I'll have to break down and divide the standard deviation by the square root of the count. So that's why we needed it. Being lazy, I'll just copy the confidence interval. We'll enter the t.inv.2t function as before. Oh, that's the other reason we need the count. And we'll calculate lambda as before. We'll perform the same cleanup as before, and voila, the mean, confidence interval, and confidence level. One last trick. That first column looks a little bare, and we have a column of X sub I's, but no I's. There are many ways to fill a column with equally spaced numbers, but this one is my go-to. Enter the first two values, select both cells, and then drag from the corner. It works if you use a different spacing as well. So we'll leave it as it is. Thanks.